All right. Hello. I'm so excited for today's energy forecast. So I was tuning in this morning and I was like, what does everyone need to know? What do the guides want to share? Like what is the thing, right? Because I didn't really get anything coming through earlier in the week, which sometimes happens. And this morning, the message I received was like codependency, codependency, codependency. And I talk about this a lot just because, a lot of the work that I'm doing with people around clearing their trauma and what comes up around relationships, whether it be in your business or with your partner or whatever, this usually comes up because this is something that we've really been programmed into. So, for better or for worse, I always say that everything we learn is actually the opposite. So, a lot of the programming that we get in childhood is not only do we need to look to others for external validation, but we also receive this messaging around us not being enough. And so we have to look to others to kind of fill this void. And then additionally, the other programming we receive is that we are expected to sacrifice how we feel for other people, which is where like the people pleasing behavior comes in, which is a coping mechanism to prevent yourself from getting hurt, right? Because we have to put other people's feelings above our own. That is the programming that many of us received, whether it was just modeled to us or actually told to us. It doesn't really matter. Hi. So when I use StreamYard, guys, I can't always see who's commenting. So if you can say your name too when you say hi, so I can say hi to you because I'm using going to be using a StreamYard from now on because it's just a better platform. So anyway, hi. Yeah, so we're going to talk about this today. We're going to go into it. Oh, hi Tal. Oh, so happy to see you. So happy you're here. And congratulations on everything that's going on with you, by the way. You're amazing. So anyway, all right, so let's get right into it. And oh, I just want to say really quickly, there's always a reason why I bring up these topics, right? And it's because this one specifically right now is because at this time energetically, hi Jackie, at this time energetically, we are shifting this big time from a collective perspective, from an energetic perspective, from an astrological perspective. We are shifting this big time right now because we are really being given the opportunity right now to shift these old patterns and dynamics that are not going to work as we step into higher states of consciousness, as we step into the 5D timeline, because showing up exhausted and putting everyone else's feelings above your own is not how we shift things, right? That's not how we help other people. So honoring ourselves and putting ourselves first is how we show up in the best way that we can to help other people, right? It sounds really obvious, but we actually are programmed to operate in the opposite way, or we actually have this programming around selfishness where we think that if we focus too much on ourselves or we choose ourselves too much, then we're selfish and we don't care about other people. And that we're going to debunk right now. We're going to clear that right now. That is ending right now. So if you're listening to this, I'm clearing that from your field effective immediately because we are done with this anything about selfishness. I don't even like that word. I don't like to use it, at least in a negative way. Like, I actually think being selfish is good because focusing on yourself is actually what heals you and the people around you. So, let's reframe selfish. Let's redefine selfish as a good thing and something that we want to do, something that we strive for, right? Is being selfish. And it's not because selfish has this connotation of, oh, it means you don't care about other people. But what if it could mean that that honoring yourself is actually something that benefits everybody in all of your spaces? So if we can just like completely shift the dynamic and shift that definition to be more in alignment with the actual laws of the universe and the actual energetics of this universe and this planet, then I think it'll really benefit everyone. Okay, so this is really important, especially right now that we clear this stuff, because a lot of us too that are business owners, and I see this with most of my clients, because I'd say about 90% of my clients, 95% of my clients are business owners. And one of the things I see come up for people all the time is they become codependent with their clients, they become codependent with their prospective clients, or they become codependent with their audience. So, what do I mean by that? So, the way that I define codependency is anywhere you are outsourcing your self worth. So, anywhere where you are looking to an external source to validate you, make you feel worthy, or fill some kind of void. So anywhere where you are trying to get a need met from an external source, right? And I don't mean like like food or something. Like that's we all are hungry and we need to eat or whatever. I don't mean like that. I mean an emotional need, right? So anywhere where we are deriving our self-worth from an external source, we're outsourcing our sense of worthiness, or we need someone else's validation in order to feel okay. That's all codependent behavior. So, how does that show up in your business and how do you become codependent with your clients? Well, for example, if you do the thing where maybe you post something online and then you are really afraid that if it doesn't get enough likes or people don't comment or people don't interact with it, then your post is not good enough, right? So, what you just did there was you became codependent with your audience and projected your feeling of being not good enough onto them so that you were looking to them to validate your feelings so that you don't have to feel not good enough. Okay, so that's what happens there. All right. And then another example could be I know for me, one of my biggest patterns was people pleasing. So when I first started my business, I would always be afraid that my clients were going to be mad at me. So every time someone would reach out to me, I would think, "Oh my God, I did something wrong. They're going to be mad at me." Right? Another codependent pattern. So this is all the ways that we project codependency on other people. It doesn't have to be with clients. It can literally be with anyone. It literally is with anyone. But it'll usually show up in our closest relationships, okay? All right. So now I'm going to go into the 3 signs of codependency so you can really like actually tune in and discern and start to know, am I coming from this place? And this is so important because what happens when you stop being codependent, or at least you start to clear it little by little by little, what happens simultaneously is that you create better boundaries. And what happens when you create better boundaries? You make more money every single time. Okay. Because when we have better boundaries, we know what we're available for. We know what we're not available for. We're sure with the universe, and the universe knows exactly what to give us. Also, boundaries create a sacred container. I always say this, boundaries create a sacred container so that you feel safe to hold more. If you don't have any boundaries, you don't have a container to hold anything. Everything's wishy-washy. You're not clear. You don't have any idea what you're available for and what you're not available for. And you kind of let yourself be kind of thrown with the wind or run over by the waves. So it's hard to hold money when you're in that state because you don't have a solid container. You're not clear on what is okay with you and what is not okay with you. And a lot of us aren't, because that was not modeled to us growing up. Right? We had parents that didn't have good boundaries with us. Maybe they shared stuff. They emotionally leaned on us when we weren't ready. So we got modeled that it was okay to emotionally lean on people or derive your self worth from other people. Like there's all these ways that we were modeled improper boundaries. And then also we would feel like maybe it's okay for people to treat us poorly if our parents treated us poorly or we saw our parents treat each other poorly. So if we didn't have good boundaries modeled to us, then there's no way we would know that, right? So it's okay, is my point. But here's how to notice it. So the first thing that you can always tell is codependency is if you're trying to fill a void, right? So what do I mean by that? Looking at a certain situation, right? Like say you're upset because and I'm just going to use a business example. Say you're upset because you were talking to somebody about joining your program and they said they were going to, and then they like ghosted you, right? Perfect example. So you're feeling rejected, you're feeling abandoned, you're feeling not good enough, and all those feelings are coming up for you, not because they are true, not because it has anything to do with that client, but because those are unhealed wounds within you that have been triggered that are coming up for an opportunity for healing. So, codependency would look like needing that client to say yes so that you could fill the void of unworthiness that you're feeling within you that was triggered. So, anytime you are trying to fill a void, that's codependency. So, anytime you are needing someone else to do something so that you feel whole, so that you're filling that void within you, that is codependency. So that's one, filling a void. Anytime, so you can ask yourself that question in any situation. If you're wanting to know if you're going into codependent patterns, you can say, am I trying to fill a void through this situation with this person or in this circumstance or whatever? So that's number one, filling a void. The second one is avoiding. So, are you trying to avoid feeling not good enough? So, going back to that same example that I shared about the client ghosting you, um, are you needing that client to say yes to you so that you can avoid feeling not good enough? Because the not good enough thing, which we all have in some capacity, it rears its ugly head in different ways. We can either be overcompensating for it, like proving energy, like proving that we're good enough, having to prove to other people to get their validation to say that we're good enough, or we're trying to avoid feeling it, right? So we have that feeling of not good enough within us, but we're trying to suppress it and avoid it. And the way that we do that is to get others to validate us and tell us we're good enough so we don't have to feel that sense of not being good enough that's deep inside, suppressed in the shadows. So that's the second one. Are you trying to avoid feeling not good enough or feeling unworthy or whatever it is? It doesn't have to be not good enough, but that's usually a good blanket statement for all of this, right? So are you trying to avoid feeling not good enough? You can ask yourself that question. In this situation, am I trying to avoid something? Am I trying to avoid feeling not good enough? Am I trying to avoid feeling unworthy or undeserving or doubting myself or whatever it is? Are you trying to avoid something? Okay. And then the last one is, are you trying to control something? Now, this is a big one because we all do this probably more than we even realize, or even more that we like to than we'd like to admit, because this is a very common coping mechanism, which is trying to control or manipulate a situation in order to have a desired outcome so that you don't have to feel a certain way, right? So that you don't have to feel out of control, so that you don't have to feel unsafe, right? Because a lot of this, almost all of this, guys, and I see this with everybody, is it all comes back to feeling safe, right? It all goes back to feeling safe because ultimately what happened growing up was you feeling a sense of not feeling safe because your parents were not able to show up for you in the way that you needed. Whether it was just on an emotional level, or whether they actually physically weren't there, or whether there was, physical violence, or even if it was a quote unquote normal upbringing, which I always say that I had, but there was still a ton of trauma that I had because a lot of it is nuanced, right? And in whatever way your parents were not able to show up for you, that is how you feel unsafe. So, a lot of what's happening when we try to control or manipulate a situation is we're trying to avoid feeling unsafe. So, asking yourself, am I trying to control this situation because I don't feel safe? And this is a big one. And a lot of times we might not even realize that we're doing it, right? Because it can be like kind of like underneath the surface. We might need to dig a little bit. That's why working with someone like me is so helpful in all of this, because I'll point it right out to you. Because a lot of times we can, on the surface, it feels like one thing, but then when we dig a little bit deeper, we realize that there's more going on underneath the surface, and it's usually comes back to feeling not good enough or feeling unsafe. Okay. All right, cool. So we got those. Now we're going to go on the 3 tactical ways that you can shift it. Okay. Number 1, I'm sure this is no big surprise. Breath work. If you guys haven't dove into my breath work yet, I highly recommend. You can get the freebie if you sign up for my email list. And if you're already on my list, it's in your inbox. Just go search for it. And this is what you do. You do the breath work with the intention. So you write down the intention before you start the breath work. Being intentional when you do breath work is everything, because it directs the energy. So if you set an intention of this is what I want to feel, this is what I want to know, this is what I want to create, it might not come to you during the session, it might not come to you right after, but it will come to you. So set the intention and do the breath work. And this is what your intention is. Show me the highest outcome of this situation. So if you're stuck in a situation where you feel codependency, you know you're doing it, but you're not sure how to get out of it, laying down, doing the breath work with the intention, show me the highest outcome. Show me the highest outcome for this situation. And you will always be shown. You will always be shown what's available if you ask. That's what I always say to my clients. They're like, well, I don't know where this message is coming from. I'm like, did you ask? Always ask questions, always dig deeper to get clear on what's really going on, and you'll always get answers. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2, this is the question you can ask yourself. Are you ready? You might want to write this one down. If I felt inherently worthy, what would I do? So if I already felt inherently worthy in the situation, if I already knew I was worthy, if I already knew I was good enough, what would I do? How would I act? What energy would I embody? Right? These are all really great questions you can ask yourself, so you can start to get curious about what it would feel like to show up differently, to embody a different energy, because that's how we switch this stuff. Yes, it's about the awareness of it. Yes, it's about acknowledging it, but then we need to change the energy and show up embodying a different energy. Okay. So you ask yourself that question. And then the last one, this is a big one. And this is like the crux of all of my work. So this is really big and really important. And I know some of you already know some of this, but understanding your relationship dynamics with your parents and drawing the parallels. So, the foundation of all of my work and the methodology that I use is drawing the parallels between what's going on in your life now and your relationships with your parents. And or caretakers, right? Whoever you were who took care of you growing up, at least from 0 to 8. Um, Knowing the deeper underlying energetic dynamics between you and them meaning like each other, is a non-negotiable. You have to understand what those deeper energetic patterns and dynamics are, because you will play them out. You do play them out. And if you know very up and down, backwards and forwards, if you know what they are, then you can get levity from it. So you can be like, oh, I'm playing out that pattern. Okay, cool. I'm going to choose out of it. But if you don't know what it is and you don't know what it feels like, you can't choose out of it because you don't know what it is. So you have to know these deeper underlying energetic patterns, and they'll continue to evolve, right? And you'll continue to understand more and more about them, right? Like as my clients go through the metamorphosis, they might uncover one layer of it, and then they come back for the second round, or we go into one-on-one work or whatever, and we're discovering more, right? But we have to know what these are. This is a non-negotiable, because if you really want to be able to shift your energy, you have to know what you're shifting from, right? You have to know what is a no for you. You have to know what you don't want. which is these old patterns and dynamics that you ran with your parents that were modeled to you that are running within you until you decide to stop them. So that's the other non-negotiable, is you have to know what those are. And you can start by just having the awareness around it and digging into it a little for yourself. But if you really want to go deep into it, that's what the metamorphosis is for. That's what my one-on-one work is for, right? Because we need to know this in order to quickly move through what comes up for us on the path to creating anything, right? Whether it's a successful business, a successful relationship, a career change, whatever it is in your life that you want to create, you have to know this stuff because it will come up for you. And if you want to be able to easily navigate it, you just have to have a deep awareness around it and understand what it is and what it feels like. So I hope that wasn't too much information. I know I said a lot in a short amount of time, but let me know if you guys have any questions about anything. Also, a couple of quick announcements. Quantum Priestess, which is it's so good. And I wasn't gonna cap it, but it feels like we're almost full. I think I'm going to take like 2 more people. I think we have 8 right now. And I think I think we have 9 actually. And I might cap it around like 10 or 11. So if you're feeling the pull for Quantum Priestess, reach out to me. It's only $497. It's in early bird pricing until Sunday. Okay, so Sunday end of day, we're in early bird pricing, which is $497. And I also did a 2 payment plan, which makes it super easy. It's 2 payments of $250. And what is this? This is an energetic activation that was downloaded to me, which is I'm activating within you the energy of the Pleiadian High Priestess, the Master Healer, and Quantum Alchemist. This is the energy that I channel to create the healing and the results that I help my clients create. It's like this master healer energy where you're able to like the visual that they always show me for this energy is like this priestess with like this light coming out of her eyes where she has like the zeroing in really powerful like light energy coming out of her eyes where she can see everything. It's like the all-seeing, all-knowing priestess energy who's able to see it all and heal it instantly. So this is the vibe. It's super powerful. It will propel you into your next level of your gifts, your growth, your abundance, and really help you activate this multi-dimensional, cosmic, galactic healer priestess energy. And honestly, like I know that I can't even predict what some of the results will be because I never taught it before, but I know they're going to be profound. So that's that. Reach out to me if you have questions about it. I'll put the link in the comments also. And then also, just really quick, I want to say next week's podcast episode will blow your mind, you guys. I have this woman, Debbie Solaris, and I think I probably talked about it last week too, because I'm like so excited about it. She is a galactic historian and reads the Galactic Akashic Records. She's been interviewed on Gaia many times. She is pretty well known because of how powerful she is. She's on the podcast next week, gives me Galactic Akashic Records reading on the podcast. It will blow your mind. I'm telling you, this is like nothing you've ever heard before. And I'm going to have her back on the podcast too. She's going to come back again to talk more about the history of our galaxy. And it's so cool. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there because I'm so excited about it. So I figured you guys would be too. Okay, so that is all I have for today. I'm sending you guys so much love. Have an amazing weekend. Reach out to me with any questions, and I'll talk to you soon.